Hello. Today, in this astrological video, I'm talking about Sun in the sign of Leo, what these people are like, and a couple of the common misconceptions about them that I'd like to clarify. First of all, what is the Sun? The Sun is what newbies refer to as the zodiac sign. It's the only sign that almost everyone knows. Okay, it's the constellation that was aligned with the sun at the time of your birth from your perspective here on Earth. Okay, and the sun is really your main source of energy. We get vitamin D from the sun when we go outside. It takes care of our skin. It invigorates us with energy, but it can also wear us out, getting too much of it, right? So the sun is really our energy, it's our vitality, it's how we show up in the world, how we really want to show up in the world. It's our ego personality, right? So it's something that's good to be aware of and to temper sometimes. When it's appropriate, you have to make that call for yourself. But it's not something that you can just do away with. You know, this whole idea of ego dissolution as like a virtuous endeavor, I think is really one of the misleading tenets of the East. We are psychological beings who have egos, and what we want to do is not dissolve the ego entirely, but to integrate it. Especially from an astrological perspective, if we completely dissolve the ego, then we are leaving out a huge part of our personality from that point forward. And that's not good. Everything in your birth chart matters, including the sun. You could say especially the sun, because it's huge. It's the largest planetary body in the sky, in the solar system. The largest one that we talk about in astrology. Now, the sun is ruled by Leo, which means that when the sun, your ego, your energy, is in the sign of Leo, it produces a big ego. Look, that's not a good thing, it's not a bad thing. I talked last month about Cancer having a small ego. The moon is one of the smallest planetary bodies in the sky that we talk about in astrology, that we assign to. And so Cancers tend to have small egos, for better and for worse. Leos have big egos, for better and for worse. Okay? Any Leo will tell you this because, look, we're nearing the end of Leo season right now. It's just past the midway point of August. Yet, this video isn't late for any Sun and Leo person, because it's never too late to talk about a Leo Sun person. We could say that they are self-centered. Just like the Sun is the center of the solar system, Leo wants to be the center of whatever solar system room they're in. They like to be the center of attention in more cases than not. But that's not to say that they're selfish, all right? There's a difference between being self-centered, which is what I would say Leos are, and being selfish or self-absorbed. I would say maybe Aries is self-absorbed. Or being condescending. You know, that's maybe more of a Capricorn thing, right? No, Leos are self-centered. Leo is a fixed sign, which means that they can be stubborn. But they're also a fire sign, which means that it doesn't take much fuel on the flame, on their fixed, steady burning flame, to really spark them up and to motivate them to move and to put things into action. So despite being fixed, they are very action-oriented. Leos have a ton of energy. And they make great managers, superb middle managers. That's not to say that they can't work lower or higher in the chain, but they're very, very good at just getting down to business. And because middle managers, kind of have to come off as being the center of attention and kind of assholes, Leo doesn't really mind playing that role. They don't mind taking initiative, being assertive, so they tend to make really good managers. Leo Sun people, the men, both the men and women get a bad rap. And if you're my age, I'm 31. Just turned 31 earlier this summer. If you're like between the ages of like 30 and 32, you may have your South Node in Leo. So a lot of people that I grew up with are like they don't really respond to Leo Sun people in the way that Leo Sun people want to be received. They really do want to be worshipped. I was talking with a Leo Sun chick friend of mine, and she's talking about this guy who she was talking to who wasn't paying her enough attention. And attention is already currency for women, but for a Leo Sun woman, and for a Leo Sun man too, attention is like really what feeds them. And she was like, I just don't get it. Like, he just won't worship me. It's like, hello, I need to be worshipped. They do. I think it was Jewel Mayberry, the great Jewel Mayberry, who once said of Leo Sun people that the women want to be queens who have a king, and the men want to be kings who have a queen. So status and visibility and people feeling the warmth of the heat that they're putting off is important to them. They want to have an effect on things. And again, it's not good or bad. It's how you manage it. So in that desire comes at least a certain layer of confidence. Now, whether or not they're actually secure underneath the surface depends on other things. That's really the moon and Venus. Confidence, self-esteem, emotional stability, things like that. Those are not really things of the sun. But at the very least, they have enough surface confidence, Leo Sun people, so that they can, better than anyone else, fake it until they make it. They make great salespeople. They're good at sort of just tuning in and feeling out the room and responding to it in a way that is going to sell the product, in a way that is ultimately probably going to benefit them and whatever cause they stand for. So they're quite strong-willed, and they have the energy to put those things into action. Leo Sun people are full of energy. Again, they're quite passionate, and they're very excitable. Again, it doesn't take much fuel on their fire to really blow it up. You tell a Leo person that they can't do something, and they will do everything they can to prove you wrong. So they use negative emotions a lot of time, and negative reactions from other people as fuel, as a tailwind. They don't treat it as a headwind and make excuses most of the time. They're not excuse-ridden people, which is very nice. In their desire for attention and status, they are typically going to develop quite a proper manner of speech, especially if their Mercury is in Virgo. This can be the case if their Mercury is in Leo as well. If their Mercury is in Cancer, they may be a little more reserved in how they rationalize things and how they communicate and their communication style. But with Virgo or a Leo Mercury, along with this Leo Sun, they're going to have a very proper and clear way of speaking. They're very rarely asked to repeat themselves, as, say, Cancer people often are. They tend to mumble a little bit more, but Leo is more clear, enunciates a little better. What else can I say? I mean, I've dated 2 Leo women seriously in my past. I've had some affairs with a few others in various forms. So it would be hypocritical of me to come in and just jump on the Leo hate bandwagon. I call them Lehos sometimes. But despite that attention seeking, they tend not to really be hoes. They tend to be picky, they tend to have standards, and Leo Sun people, especially the women, can really have a difficult time finding a mate who satisfies them in all the necessary ways, because really any woman who is if they're healthy and feminine, is looking for a man that she can look up to. And Leos already have a big idea about how they want to be seen. And they see a partner as an integral part of their image. So they're going to have quite high standards for a partner. The men and the women, but, the women can have an especially difficult time because men tend to date down in most ways. So they hold men to standards of masculinity that are fair. Like they want a masculine man. They want a man who they can look up to and respect. And that, especially nowadays, can leave them with very few options, given the falling levels of testosterone in the average man nowadays. So Leos in general have standards. And they have standards because they want to maintain that image that they're going for, that they see themselves as or wanting to be. And that's another thing that they use as fuel, and they carry those standards in order to do better the next time, every time, That's in love, that's in work, that's in friendships and social interactions as well. So there's a lot that we can say about Leo, but maybe not as much as they'd want us to say, right? Because remember, Leos are self-centered, and they have big egos, but that's not necessarily a good or a bad thing on its own. Remember, our astrological chart gives us really a blueprint of our innate coding. It lays out the cards for us, and with free will, we can choose to play those cards any way we want. And sometimes we have to learn the hard way. Well, at least in Leo's case, when they learn their lesson, they really tend not to repeat it, So there's a regal nature about them, a nature of having high standards. It's really an action-oriented, but not impulsive like Aries or Sagittarius, the other fire signs. It's not quite as reactive and impulsive as those. But they very much are, Leo Sun people, a steady burning flame. And you can always depend on them. They tend to be very reliable. very loyal, very passionate, and fun, and full of energy. And despite the conventional opinion, I tend to like them a lot. So that's been my analysis on Leo Sun people for nearing the end of Leo season. Stick around next month, or in the next couple weeks even, I'll be talking about Virgo, which is a very different energy. Have a good day. Cheers.